Those that were here will never forget what they saw. Brisbane just had unfinished business to attend to at the MCG.
It is a very special episode of the Brisbane Lions Fancast because I'm teaming up with Benny here from the Hoops crew. I know you've been kind enough to have me on after a couple of post games for a chat, and thankfully so far they've been good for me. So let's have a chat before the game this week because it's another chapter of Brisbane and Geelong in a final series. We've had a few over the last couple of years. A few prelims. This is the first qualifying final, so a little bit different. The stakes not quite as high, but a lot of people are saying that whoever wins this one is in the box seat for the premiership. Benny, would you agree with that one? And thanks for joining me, by the way.
Thanks for having me, and I would agree, and I've been saying it as well. I think the winner of this one goes all the way. Well, maybe not all the way, but definitely goes into a grand final. But I also think the loser makes the grand final as well. So I feel like this is part one of a very interesting final series between these two teams.
Now, I won't subject you to this chat for too long, but let's go back to September last year and what was a lot of people's favourite game of the year, neutrals especially, but obviously a special place for Lions fans. The prelim final, Cammy Rayner's left boot finished it all, but what a cracking game that was. I don't know if you've had the chance to look back on it and watch it subjectively.
Highlights were pretty good, and even though I was heartbroken and devastated on my post-game show afterwards, I could appreciate the neutrals' viewpoint that it was an absolute classic. And there's about 10 or 15 highlights from that game, which you'd probably see over the course of 10 or 12 weeks of footy. So it was terrific. It hurt. I thought we had it in the bag in that second quarter when it got out to about 4 goals. And then I thought we had it again when Ollie Henry snapped it around the corner, put us back in front. And then Mitch Duncan with his handball about 60 metres out, and Cam Rayner swoops, and boom, there you go.
I think the thing that often gets overlooked in that Ollie Henry goal is the elite hands from Brad Close to Cameron, then they gets it to Ollie Henry. Watching that game back, there was an O'Sheen Mullen kick as well, which was absolutely sublime, and that handball from Brad Close. God, there's definitely some highlights there for you as well.
It was a good game. It hurt a lot, but I was happy for your boys to get the job done the following week. It did feel like it was an opportunity missed for the Cats. Not that necessarily it would have gone the same way. I know a lot of Geelong people feel like we would have done Sydney pretty hard as well, but you kind of want to have that opportunity. I wish we had the opportunity anyway, but not to be. Hopefully this year.
I mean, judging by the way Sydney played on grand final day, just about anyone would have beaten them. They had their toes up from the first bounce. So, thankfully, because we'd had a couple of hard weeks, the grand final day was possibly our easiest final.
It's probably. Hopefully the grand final this year is a lot more interesting for the neutral supporters. It's fun when your team's winning it.
Yes.
But not for everyone else.
Now, before that, a couple of prelims where you absolutely pulled our pants down in 2022 and 2020 as well, where we were just not in it at all. And I don't think anyone was stopping Geelong in 2022. You guys just timed it perfectly. It seems like this year you're timing it pretty well again.
I think we are, but proof will be in the pudding in the next few weeks. It does turn a little bit depending on the result of a qualifying final. I think every team that plays a qualifying final, if you win it, you feel like you're going to go all the way. And if you lose it, you think, there's no point. Who cares? We might win next week, but it doesn't really matter. La la la. It's I'm going to try and go into it a little bit more optimistic than I do previous years. And as I said, I think one of these teams is whoever the loser is still going to make it to the granny, and I think the winner definitely will. I think it's box seat for the winner, but I feel like both of us can get the job done against Collingwood or Adelaide, who we'd probably see in a prelim.
Yeah, most likely. There's still, the Suns, they beat us up, a handful of weeks ago again, but who knows with their finals experience what sort of role that'll play. It's 1 week at a time, the old footy cliche.
That's it.
What do you make of the Cats' lead into the finals? Because, I mean, you've had a soft draw. Let's call a spade here. Your last 6 weeks, aside from the Swans, it's been nothing but bottom sort of 5, bottom 6 teams. But you've got a clean bill of health. Only Toby Conway on the injury list. Stark contrast to us. We've played top 8 teams week in, week out. A couple of losses. Pretty battered and bruised as well. So do you... you're sitting on one side. Would you rather be sitting where I am? Because from my point of view, I don't know. Like, battle hardened, but actually hardened, or clean bill of health, ready to go?
It's really tough, isn't it? Probably neither, really. You'd love a couple more tough games and have a clean bill of health, but that's never going to happen. We won 14 out of our last 16, so it wasn't just a soft run to the finish line. The Cats have been pretty strong up until, a third of the way through the season, and you'd banked some pretty big wins, ones over Adelaide as well and Collingwood earlier in the year, to probably put us in this position for a top 4, and we ended up being top 2, but not by much, half a game I think over you guys. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I would have preferred another tough game along the way. I think we're going to be okay. The only thing with Brisbane, while you've had some good competition, from my eyes, that there's every now and then you have this really off game. And that's probably the only question mark, I think, heading into the finals is, can you put 3 good games together in a row? History would say yeah, because you did it pretty well last year. And until you don't do it, you should believe that you can. But it's just, the last 10 weeks or so, good opposition, but every now and then you just don't turn up, and it's just one of those, what is this team? And you write them, and everyone writes Brisbane off, and then they bounce back and they have some amazing wins against Freo. And who'd you play last week? Was it? Can't remember it now.
Hawthorn.
Yeah, you look terrific. Like, no one's beaten you. Give you the premiership now kind of stuff. But yeah, that's the only thing I can just say. Like, are you gonna turn up and kick 2 goals 12 or something like that? Who knows?
Well, one thing's true for both of our clubs is we're both pretty aware of September being a completely different season. I think I hope both teams will rise to the occasion. Speaking of inaccurate kicking, it was sort of your Achilles heel when we met down at GMHBA 15 odd weeks ago for Paddy Dangerfield's 350th. It was nice to be on the other side of that, I must admit.
It's disappointing, that one. We're all feeling good in our white t-shirts. What was it called? The Whiteout or White Night or something like that. And you quickly shut us up, didn't you?
I must admit, I went into that game scared for my life. I thought, we'd beaten you earlier in this year with a come from behind victory. The prelim last year, it's your captain's 350th game. I thought all the motivating factors were going Geelong's way, and I was genuinely surprised because I think that night I had pretty bad gastro as well, so I was just lying in my bed, barely alive.
I remember that. Well, I don't remember. I remember you telling me about it anyway.
But I was definitely pleasantly surprised, and it was one of those games where... And it was off the back of a pretty disappointing loss as well, where I thought, okay, maybe we're not a basket case here. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster season, but the last couple of, the last 3 games we've managed to get you, I can't see Chris Scott letting it happen again. I think there's no way you're going into this game on Friday night thinking, oh yeah, they're going to kick it straight up the middle, they're going to attack you quick, they're going to try and, disorganise your defence. Like, he's going to be right on to that, so I don't think it's going to be a carbon copy of how he approached it all those weeks ago.
No, it won't be. And Chris Scott's always on about that in his press conferences that he does once a week for the local, well, mostly for the club. But he's always like, who cares what happened 6 weeks ago? The game has changed. The teams are different. It doesn't matter. He pretty much ignores statistics. The fact that you guys have got us the last few times and have looked a better team. And GWS get us every time as well. I think they've beaten us 5 times in a row. You can talk about it all you want, but sometimes it is a thing. So maybe he'll figure out a way. Maybe the boys will just be on like we were last year in the qualifying final. We had a laid out with Tom Stewart not being there, and I walked in the door at the end of the day after coming home from work, and I was just devastated. I'm like, oh, we're cooked. We're absolutely cooked. And then we won that one by 13 goals or something like that. I couldn't believe it. So we might be on, but then again, your boys are looking pretty good. So I just hope it's another cracker and we're on the side of the good this time.
I think it will be. I think it will be an absolute cracker. And one man that has been pretty pivotal, especially against us, is Max Holmes. Unlucky not to make the All-Australian team last night. But I don't think it was any coincidence that in the prelim last year, that as soon as he went off with that hamstring, the tide definitely turned, because he was definitely best on up until that point.
Yeah, all praying that Max Holmes's hamstring holds up. Every time he plays you guys in a big final, it pops, and I'm always tempted just to not play him. It's that I'm that scared. No, he'll play, and he'll play really well, I think. Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, fingers crossed both teams, really. We don't want injuries out of this one, especially at the start of a finals campaign. We just want both teams to get through it with a healthy list. Even though Geelong's coming into it with a very healthy list, you want, just for the sake of the players themselves, you don't get many chances at winning a premiership, and you'd hate for it to get one of them to get injured at this point in time. So, yeah, for both teams, get through it unscathed.
Yeah, well, as I said, our injuries have somewhat mounted up over the last 6 weeks. You guys have been a clean bill of health. Can you imagine many changes from your round 24 team for this qualifying final?
Probably. Well, Shannon Neal will come back in for sure.
Yeah.
Could be the only one, possibly. I'd love the romance of Cam Guthrie coming back after not playing all year. Hasn't barely played since we won the premiership 3 years ago, but that's not likely. Yeah, I think Shannon Neal comes in, still very young, and looked tremendous in the home and away season. Really terrific for a young fella, but will probably struggle a little bit more in the finals when the pressure's on, and the ball doesn't get down as cleanly. And if Geelong has their way and we just really open things up, who knows? Maybe he'll come into it. But I suspect it'll just be one of those sort of really, really tough games that just you're probably one through the midfield either way. I can't think of anyone else, so I think that's pretty much it.
There's some interesting matchups that are obviously going to occur. That midfield you just mentioned, we'll get Lachie Neale back, and obviously Mark O'Connor has done the job on him a number of times. But Hugh McCluggage, as you would know, is probably the man that needs to be stopped in 2025. Is that a no-Shane Mullen job?
Mark O'Connor will definitely come back too. I forgot about him. Probably could be either of those two. I'm just thinking, who would O'Sheen go to? He's probably the one that he's our number one tagger. Do we want to tag two of the guys, or do we just turn it into a shootout? I don't know. I think
Tom Atkins might go with Neil head to head at stoppage, and then maybe O'Connor goes to McCluggage. Yeah,
I think Tom Atkins. I don't know. I think Hugh McCluggage is probably the one that worries me the most in the midfield. I think he's just one of those players that opposition fans and the AFL comp just doesn't give enough respect to. I think they'll start to pretty soon, especially if he's a two-time premiership player in a few weeks. But I think now's the time to put a lot of work into Hugh McCluggage. He can break this game open. And obviously your Cam Rayner's absolute superstar if he turns it on. Can go missing, but he can win you guys another premiership with a couple of minutes of incredible football. And Will Ashcroft is another one for me that just, again, maybe that's just last year, burnt into my memory, but he did pretty well against us and often does. And he's going to be crucial in the clearance work and through the midfield, especially if we're getting stretched. He'll start to dominate.
I think for you guys, Tom Atkins was the one, especially earlier on in that game at GMHBA. You did have a few players that didn't play up to their sort of lofty standards. Brian Myers was probably the most obvious one because I don't know what was going on with his kicking that night, and to the point where Kane Corns had to bring it up on agenda setters. But Tom Atkins was the one from the get-go that sort of really dug in, and I guess that's what you're going to get from Tom Atkins in that sense. But that wing combination of Max Holmes, he's the worry, and of course Bailey Smith. But one guy that has played really well against us is Ollie Henry, who hasn't really been a main feature of the Cats this year. So kind of wondering what the go is there, because he has done a pretty good job on Harris Andrews in the past.
He won't feature unless Chris just does something crazy in selection. He definitely won't feature. He's really out of favour with our best 23. He hasn't kind of fit with Dangerfield predominantly being a forward this year, and Shannon Neal coming into his own. There hasn't really. Ollie just really hasn't found his place, and the whole forward line sort of shifted. Jez has been dominant, as you know, winning the Coleman by a record margin pretty much. I can't remember if it was a record, but absolutely dominating. And so just Ollie just hasn't got near it. So he's probably one. But I think the one player you should be concerned about that similar like McCluggage, well, not similar, like McCluggage is already a star, but Sean Manor, best young player in the comp.
You guys have got a knack of that. We'll get to that.
Sean Manor. You've got to respect him. Otherwise, he's going to embarrass you. And you'll go, why didn't we pay more attention to Shawnee Manor? He's bobbed up for 3 goals from his 20 possessions and he's laid 10 tackles. Got to be careful with him, I reckon. Very, very crafty.
Yeah, I mean, it's all those high half forwards. You've got a bevy of them, and Sean Manor is a big one. And Brisbane's got a bit of a history with Sean Manor because I think the year before you guys drafted him, he was still at Werribee and absolutely tore us apart in a VFL prelim as well. So we've got pretty strong memories of Manor. He was pretty good in that prelim last year as well. It's just with our injuries to Jack Payne, who would normally go to Shannon Neal, that's a pretty good matchup. And Noah Answorth is a big one as well. So there is opportunity. Because if Zorko goes to someone like Sean Manor, he's got to be defensively aware of it. And then you've got Wilmot as well, and they're both sort of attacking players. Starcevich will most likely go to Dangerfield, and Ryan Lester, honestly, he does a really good job on Jeremy Cameron most times we play you guys. So that doesn't worry me so much. Paddy Dangerfield and Jeremy Cameron, weirdly enough, don't worry me because I think we match up reasonably okay.
I wouldn't be worried about Jez. I feel like probably, I mean, he could go off, but I feel like maybe Brisbane's not the right fit. He'll probably take on a different role, and it'd probably be an all-team effort, I think, against Brisbane from the Geelong team. I think you'll see a bit of a spread of goals if we are to get the job done. I don't think it's going to be 1 off 6 goals from Jeremy Cameron, that's for sure.
Yeah, and on the other side, I think it was Logan Morris who kicked a big bag against you guys earlier in the year as well. So you might have to put a bit more effort into him this time. And you're forgiven. He's a 20-year-old bloke. No one's really expecting him to come along so early. Like, we didn't expect it to come along and start kicking bags. The week before, he kicked a bag on Sam Taylor. And that was, we lost the game, but probably equally as impressive.
We've got Tom Stewart's back in. He didn't get an All-Australian jacket this year, or Guernsey this year, but he's back in his normal All-Australian form. And Sam de Koning, who has been a bit of a whipping boy for the Cats this year, is back to his 2022 best. So that's you'll see a little bit of a difference in the back line for Geelong this time around, if they turn up. But I think I'm a lot more confident with their defensive lineup now than maybe what I was 8 weeks ago or whenever it was we last played.
The other one for me is Mark Blitzarves, who knows where he's going to play, but he will excel no matter if he's on the wing, if he's tagging, he's ruck, key forward, key back. I've never seen a player that could do any position so well.
He's one of the greatest Geelong players of all time, and he'll never go down as one of the greatest of all time. But he is. It's crazy. He is incredible. He can do everything, and he has done everything. I just love the bloke, and I hope I felt like he was starting to sort of drop off a little bit, but he can't kick a goal, so hopefully he doesn't mark the ball 40 metres out, trying to kick for the win. But other than that, he's just amazing for us, and we definitely at Geelong we know what we've got. He's the absolute Swiss Army knife, and it'd be good to have a few more of him, but they don't. They're hard to find, those ones.
All right, let's have a chat about that All-Australian team because obviously one of the big talking points from the night is Jeremy Cameron. We all knew he was going to make it. We all knew he was going to take that centre-half forward position, but I don't think many people before the night had him pegged for captain. And it would appear that Jeremy Cameron didn't really approve of it either.
Nah. No, I don't think so. Who's the Adelaide bloke that won the captain? I forgot his
Dawson.
Look, yeah.
He's one of my favourite players out there. And
If there's a captain, I mean, either him or Max Gawn, if there's a current captain that's an All-Australian, I don't know, just make a rule, give it to them. I'm happy for Jazza, don't get me wrong, but it was weird. It was really weird. I think Hawkins might have got it one year as well.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I don't know. As if you're a captain, you think, surely, come on, give it to the captain. One of the, flip a coin between Gawn and the other fella.
Obviously, Baz made the team as well, and another big talking point was his little chat with Mark Howard. And I had to listen to a podcast of Bailey Smith. I can't remember what it was called. It was like The Good Stuff or things like that. He did a pretty open chat about his mental health, but obviously last night was next level. The Bailey Smith, some would call it a circus this year. Are there times where you think, God, I wish he would not shut up, but just... I mean, having this big chat, it's great, fantastic, and it must be said, I really appreciate the fact that Bailey Smith is unapologetically himself. He has been since the moment he walked into the Geelong doors, but do you reckon there's elements of the team or the coach that goes, we don't... I don't want to do a press conference where every question is about Bailey Smith. I want to be focusing on a final coming up.
There was one recently where Chris Scott just gave one-word answers. There was a Fox News journalist and he was just asking questions about Bailey Smith. Every question, he's like, yes, no. He's like, you're going to keep asking questions about Bailey Smith? I don't know. He's definitely just being him. Bailey's just being himself, and Geelong probably privately just goes, oh my God, sometimes. But I was chatting with someone the other day, and it reminds me a lot of an American NBA player, basketball player, Dennis Rodman, that he kind of was... I know it's not quite the same, but he sort of tried to fit this mold of what he should be, what everyone expected him to be in his first few years in that competition. And then similar, Bailey's just like, I'm just not that person. And then just like Dennis Rodman, he just kind of one day said, I'm sick of trying to fit everyone else's expectations. I'm just going to be me. And that seems to be what Bailey's done in the last 18 months. He's like, nah, I'm just going to do it my way, and people will love me or hate me, but I've just got to be true to myself. And that's what he's doing. And it could all blow up in our face at some point, but...
Well, I did with D-Rod, it must be said eventually.
Yeah, he won 3 championships with the Bulls, but and maybe that's Geelong's thinking, well, if it gets us a premiership, it might be worth it. And that's the risks you sometimes put yourself out there, and, well, we're prepared to take that risk if it means the ultimate success. And, he's a possibility of being on the podium on Brownlow night, so it's been a pretty good pick. We'll see how we go in the next few weeks, though.
It's not bad for a pick 17, that's for sure. We had the same with Ackermanis in the early 2000s. While he was playing good footy, you could sort of put up with it. It got to the point where I think Lee Matthews referred to Jason Ackermanis as a consultant rather than a teammate, and eventually that all blew up and he finished his career at the Bulldogs. So, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen for Bailey, and I think obviously Geelong's got a good enough culture that can hopefully foster a positive team influence, but... you can't argue with the results so far. He's All-Australian and, as you said, probably top 3 at least for the Brownlow in a couple of weeks' time. So, Look, he's doing all right. All right, AFLW, that's kicked off a couple of weeks ago as well. Cats yet to register a win, but you were just saying before there's been a few unlucky injuries in the lead up to this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've been smashed with injuries and retirements. Really awkward times after we've gone through the draft and everything. Players just sort of stepping away. Some players that were pretty good. Our ruck sort of retired, and then one of our Irish players went back home, and then we just had all these injuries as well. So it's just not been great, and felt like it was going to be tough anyway. But 0-2 to start. Hopefully we can get on the board soon. I think we probably have to win 8 out of the next whatever it is games. It's a slightly longer season now, isn't it?
12 weeks this year. Rounds. I mean, you've had 2 tough games to start, and it probably doesn't get any easier this weekend with Sydney as well. And with Chloe Molloy in the form she's in at the moment and coming
7
back from that knee.
Last week or something, yeah.
7 last week and 5 the week before, so she is well and truly back. So I remember very similarly, Brisbane and Geelong had a pretty epic prelim a couple of years ago as well. So
don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. It's never been the same since then. Anyway, umpires, hey, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have got a qualifying final coming up Friday night. MCG, the MCG. It's a conversation that comes around every year. I do feel sorry for you that even before the finals got off the ground, they said, even if you guys are playing GWS or Gold Coast, you're going to be playing at the MCG. It does make you feel, and it's hard to feel sorry for Geelong on any given day, it must be said, but when you're coming up against Gold Coast, surely you can have a game at the GMHBA. You did the thing they asked. They said you need a bigger stadium. You said, okay, here it is. And they said, actually, no, not really.
Yeah, nah. What can you say? We play 10 games at home every year. We train on the stadium. That's probably what everyone says. Oh, the only team that gets to train on their own home ground. It's like, oh, give me a break. We've got to play every final. We've won 4 premierships in 18 years, having to play, we got to play one final against Fremantle, which we lost. Which we don't talk about, but everything we've won, we've had to do it at a second home venue at the MCG. So, look, it's fine. It's not that we're playing you guys. You're coming from interstate. You're having to stay in a hotel room. Our boys are sleeping in their own bed, getting up maybe an hour drive to get to the MCG early in the day, and it should be fine. It's probably the only thing I don't like about it. It's a Friday night.
Yep, that's been a big one.
I'm more than happy
fans,
to play finals at the MCG. Just home and away at Kidinia Park, that's fine, but would have been better if it was a twilight Saturday, I think, for the Geelong people and potentially even the Brisbane people, having to take a couple of days off work potentially to get to a game or makes it a little bit easier. So for everyone, but I understand you got to look after the Nepo babies in Gold Coast because they played on the Wednesday and they need a little bit of extra time, so we've got to protect the Nepo babies, don't we?
You're starting to sound like Ross Lyon, mate. Yeah. Can't have that. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you again for joining me, mate. Let's have a bit of a tip, a bit of a margin, maybe just some outlandish calls before we get into this qualifying final on Friday night. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting high scoring. I would expect over 190 points scored or close to 200 points scored between the two teams. So lots of goals. It's going to be great to watch for the neutrals, but probably not so much for us. We're just leaking goals here and there and everywhere, both teams, but expecting a high scoring game. I'm expecting Patrick Dangerfield to break some bones. Not his bones. I expect him to absolutely go for it all. He has been holding back something shocking lately. Wait for him just to be set loose like a rubber band, just like ping. He is going to crash some packs hard. So get ready. I hope your Brisbane players are ready for it because Paddy's ready to go.
Jeez. All right. Well, that's pretty foreboding.
We've got enough injuries, he's ready to go. I tell you what, he's probably, if anything, they got to keep holding him back because he's just too wound up at the moment.
Yeah, no, I can see that, and he's got another deal, or he's still got another year on his contract, hasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely does. And if you ask Paddy, he'll probably play till he's 90. But I kind of hope that if we somehow can get up and win the whole thing this year, he sails off into the sunset as a winner. I hated seeing Hawkins go out the way he did. I don't want to see any legends of the game go out, just injuries, and get them in the end. So hopefully Paddy, if he wins it, he'll probably want to win another one. If he that's probably in his mind. He's just a winner. He just competes, and he loves playing footy. He enjoys it, and he said himself recently that until you can't do it, you might as well keep doing it because one day you'll regret it. But yeah, I just hope it ends on the right note for him.
Well, on the flip side, Mitch Duncan has just announced his retirement as well, and he has he's been one that has not limped to the line, but has found himself sort of in and out of the team this year and been a bit of a sub, and probably not the end he would have hoped for as well.
Well, probably he could have been one that most Geelong people said, "Oh, should you have retired at the end of last year?" But he was so close to 300, and I'm sure the club and him had a conversation about, "Look, mate, we'll let you play on for another year. We'll let you go out on your terms. You've won a couple of premierships for us, but you're probably not going to play every game, and we'll see how we go. We'll see if we can get to 300. So we got him there, and we got him. I think we got him 9 games in the end, and he was the sub about 5 times. But yeah, it's probably time for him. And look, he might come in. You never know. It won't be this week, but if there's some injuries and when he's required, then he's ready to go. I feel like he played his last game for Geelong up in Sydney a week or so ago.
Yep.
It was nice in the VFL, I should say, and it was nice to see him kick a goal there in the fourth quarter, and all his teammates getting around him there. Did feel like a bit of a farewell game, that one.
All right, mate. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you check out the Hoops Crew. They're big on YouTube. Of course, you guys do multiple videos per week covering everything, not just Geelong, but all across the AFL and all across Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Just make sure you check out Benny and Paul and the rest of the team from the Hoops Crew. So thanks again for joining me, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate. We'll be doing post-game live straight after the game, so any Brisbane fans, feel free to come on. We'll have a chat. You can gloat if you want, or you can, commiserate, and we'll be kind. Don't worry.
Can attest they will be good about it.